What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Good View Woodworks channel. My name is Nathan, and in this video we're going to be building a small desktop for a local first responder. He works for the fire department here locally, and he asked for some help on building a cherry desktop. So we're going to do a little river table cherry desktop. We're going to call it the black cherry desktop, okay? He wanted some black epoxy, and he gave me this slab of cherry. We'll have to show it to you in just a minute. But first things first, we're going to go ahead and build the form. But the difference in this video, not only will I go step by step, but we're also going to give the prices of all the materials, okay? And I'm only going to be using a few tools. So a circular saw, some drills, things like that. So I'm going to show you that you don't need a whole lot of super expensive tools to get this done. So hang in there, and I'll catch you at the end of this video. So we have one 4x8 sheet of 3/4 inch MDF. The price is, so the total width of our desktop is going to be 24.5 inches by 55 inches. And so what we're going to do is, remember, we're going to cut, we're going to make it a little bit more than 24.5. We're going to go about 25.5 inches. Remember, the reason why we go longer is so that we can trim it to the final dimension after we get done pulling it out of the form and prepping it for finish, okay? So that's step one. We're gonna make the form, and the wood is already prepped for us, but we're gonna go ahead and prep it anyway and get it in the form next. All right, so we're gonna cut this MDF base at 25.5 by 56. Okay, so that gives me an inch all the way around, because the final dimension would be 24.5 by 55. Okay, so let's do that now. All right, as you can see, he gave us this nice piece of cherry right here. Has a really cool crotch figure right here, which I think is gonna be really pretty. And he also ripped it right down the middle for us. So this is gonna be over there, gonna be put in the form after we get done building it. So let's hop on building that. All right, now we're gonna rip down the sides once we have the base. Here we're gonna cut 3.5 inch tall sides. And obviously we need 2 at 55 inches, 56 inches, and 2 at 25 inches plus 1.5 inches because 3/4 inch thick. So 2 at 26.5. So we'll be able to get one long side and one short side out of this. So we'll just cut one more of these. All right, now that we have our base and our sides, it's time to get this thing pre-drilled, taped, screwed together, and caulked, and then we'll be done building this form. We're gonna be using our friend Tyvek tape. Remember what I said about all the materials and stuff. So the price of this is right here, and I'll link this down in the description below as well. We have all 4 sides and the bottom done, so now it's time to pre-drill, screw it all together. All right, we'll do the first pre-drill, and we'll just put a screw in there just to hold it. All right, we're gonna pre-drill all the sides just like that. And once they're pre-drilled, we're gonna use our caulk on the inside, and we'll screw it all together. All right, so the last thing that we have to do before this form is done is we're gonna caulk in between here. So I'm gonna lay a bead of caulk here. As you notice, I already have them pre-drilled. See the holes? We're gonna caulk right here, and then I'll fold them up and screw them in. Another good thing about having the pre-drilled is you can load them with the screws already. It totally makes it easier to screw the form in. Okay, so let's do that. All right, so if you guys see all the squeeze out and stuff, we're gonna just go ahead and we're just gonna run our finger along the whole perimeter and get this thing sealed up. Okay, the form is done. So the very next step is to let this dry, let it sit overnight and dry, and then we'll get our lumber stuck in here. And then we can get to pouring. Is it recording? Oh, okay guys. we're on to the part of this build where we're gonna start mixing the epoxy, the fun part. We're gonna start mixing the epoxy and we're gonna start pouring this river. Now, because it's cherry wood, and the customer wants black epoxy, we're gonna call it the black cherry desk, okay? So this is the black cherry desk. I think the black and the cherry wood together is gonna look really nice, especially with this, this figure and stuff like that right here in this crotch. It's gonna look really nice. So this table is gonna take about 2.5 gallons, and we're gonna mix it up and do a couple pours in here. So we have the Goodview Woodworks Caviar, which is the black metallic powder, and then this is not Goodview Woodworks pigment. This is a Let's Resin pigment. It's a black pigment. It's just going to tint the epoxy black. Okay, so so it won't be so metallic. He kind of wants a black. I'm just going to add a little bit of the metallic into it. Okay. All right. We're going to grab our Incredible Solutions epoxy, pourable plastic, and this is a 2-to-1 mixture. As you can tell, we have 2 parts of the epoxy and 1 part of the hardener, so it's a 2-to-1 ratio. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and mix. Now when I pour my epoxy, I use these graduated cups, and they have graduations and ounces on the side there, and so we're going to do 16 ounces of hardener, and I always do the hardener first because it's thinner, and if I pour it last, it sits on the top, and sometimes it wants to splash out when I'm mixing. So we're gonna do 16 ounces of hardener and then 32 ounces of epoxy, which then will put us at 48 ounces. Now it's probably gonna take 2 of those to fill this up. We'll see though. If you notice, I have my wood clamped down into my form, and that is so that it doesn't float. That's so it doesn't float when I pour the epoxy. So let's go ahead and pour the hardener first, or cause a curing agent. And we're going to pour 16 ounces. Okay, 16 ounces of that. Now we're going to pour the epoxy. We're going to go 32 ounces. For a total of 48 ounces. All right. Now when we mix our epoxy, we want to plunge this down to the bottom and let it mix on the bottom. We don't want to have it near the top because it'll create a lot of air bubbles, okay? And we're going to mix this for just a couple of minutes. Now we want to scrape the sides and the bottom while we're mixing so that we get any of the unmixed epoxy off the sides. Notice how I went slow when I came out because I don't want to get a whole bunch of air trapped up into it. So we're going to use our P1050 Caviar, and we're going to dump some of this into the epoxy. You can see what it looks like. Isn't that real pretty? Super pretty. Okay, here we go. There we go. Nice thick amount. Okay. Use a little bit of our resin dye to tint it. There we go. All right, here it goes. You can stop it. All right. So fill this in. All right. Now this is the nervous part now, because definitely don't want it to leak, obviously, but we've been checking the sides. We don't see any leaks. If you notice, I added these two because even though these boards are relatively short, they were floating even in the middle. Even though I had it clamped on the end, they were still floating. So there was an issue there. But now, so if you notice, we have some bubbles and stuff in the top. We're not going to worry about the bubbles, and that's because this is a slow release, so these bubbles will just be on the surface. But we will take a stir stick. I'm going to go grab a stir stick, and we're going to just swirl the epoxy, make sure that it's all mixed up and you can't see through it. We want it to be black, you know, because it's a black cherry table, so we want it to be as black as possible in the middle, but also really cool. I still wanted you to see the swirls, the metallic swirls, because they look really nice. All right. All right, just back up just a little bit. Okay, so that's it for the time being. We're going to let this set up, but I will say one thing I'm going to do that you're not going to see me do is I am going to put a fan on this, because we don't want it to set up too quickly and crack or have a lot of bubbles or anything in it. Really, heat is going to be the thing that messes it up if it does get messed up at this point. All right, let's bust this thing out of the mold. Still wet? No. I thought the caulk was still wet, but it wasn't.
The green things are in there. I'm gonna try to get back on
what?
These green things.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm gonna try to get back on this
I can
stuff.
cut it out. This, I don't know if it's coming off.
How did you put it up there again? Or you just put it up there?
Yeah. Looks like I'm gonna have to pry those off of there. Yeah. I got some bubbles. It's alright, it's gonna get planed off.
This is gonna be an amazing table.
Yeah, it's gonna look nice too. All right, next step. I'm gonna pry this thing off the board. Pause.
My fault.
You still recording? Hey guys, use some of your scraps, and these things really help me. These wedges, gotta make sure they're sharp. But I usually take a chisel or a putty knife, stick it in the corner, give me a little bit of a gap, and then I put this wedge in here. Table come right up. You ready? Here it comes. There we go. Out of the form. Let's see what it looks like on the other side. Perfectly flat. All right, now we're gonna conclude this video here. I was gonna go through the entire process, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave the finishing portion and add it to the series of videos that I have on finishing, because this one's gonna be slightly different than other types of finishing, okay? So what we're gonna do is this particular one, we're gonna do a hard wax oil like Rubio Monocoat as the finish. And so we'll go step by step on how to finish this. But so far, here is a table. All it needs to be done is sanded down, planed down flat, sanded, and apply the finish, and it'll be done for it as a tabletop. So that's it, guys. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button. Also hit the subscribe button, because I'd like you to be part of the Goodview Woodworks community, because I'll be posting more of these things. And if you want to see something very similar to this, I have another coffee table that did out of cherry. You can click it right up here, and that'll take you over to that series step by step on how to build a coffee table. Okay, so with that being said, guys, thanks for hanging out with us, and I will catch you on the next one.